Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Simon and today I am back with a video that's, well, kind of part of an occasional series of videos. I don't know how to word that, but a video that I occasionally do on this channel. So yeah, an occasional series. Wow, let's just get to it. I'm here with my reading horizons where I'm going to be talking about what I have just read, what I'm currently reading and what I'm going to read next. Although there's a bit of a twist in this video, as I would like you all to vote out of 5 books that I've got right at the top of my TBR, which one of those I should read next. So I guess it's a bit of a reading horizon / top of the TBR video. So there we go. And a big thanks to my Patreon Sarah, who in the Patreon chat suggested that I do this. I was like, I need to do a video. I've not had time to edit one. So because the Come to Work With Me vlog, which I've been, well, editing for a while, I have ironically been very delayed by work on, as I've gained 2 new projects at the library's charity that I work for part-time. And so yeah, I've just been really focused on that, and it's been a bit bonkers because they've both got quite tight deadlines to get stuff done. One is working with the Women's Prize on Library Engagement, and the other is working with Ukrainian libraries on something to, I don't want to use the word commemorate, but to mark 3 years since the invasion, because things are tough there. Anyway, that vlog will come next Thursday. Before that, you will have on Sunday my predictions for the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. And mentioning Patreon again, if you're one of my patrons and you're the weekly Savage Shenanigans tier, get ready for a 40-minute unhinged chaotic video of me trying to whittle, I think, about 85 or so books down, which isn't even half of, I think, the amount of books that get submitted for the long list. But anyway, that'll be coming on Patreon Sunday. Before then, here on the channel, I'll be sharing my 16 predictions. It was painful. That's all I'm going to say. Painful. But anyway, to the matter in hand and my reading horizon. So the last book that I finished was Cinema Love by Jiaming Tang. I absolutely loved this book. It's Valentine's Day, so Cinema Love, actually, I may have made a reel about books with love in the title for Valentine's Day, and this is the one that I'm going to be recommending. If you're looking for something to read this weekend, get to this, because honestly, I thought this was phenomenal. Sorry, I didn't want to edit this video. However, I am currently sponsored by Lemsip because I have this stupid almost cold that won't become a fully fledged cold, but also won't do one. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, so in this book, we start off in New York, where we meet Old Second and Bao Mei, and they are living a very meagre existence there. And we go back to their past. And what this book looks at, without any spoilers, is a cinema called the World Cinema back in China, where closeted gay men would go to meet. And this looks at the story of some of those men, but also brilliantly looks at the stories of their wives. And there is a ghostly element to this, which I absolutely loved. And when we meet both Old Second and Bao Mei in their present, which is 1980s New York, there's also a lot of stuff going on there. So this book manages to work with so many different bits of history, queer history, some of which I knew, some of which I didn't. I mean, I love books where I find out about what it's like for queer people in cultures or countries other than mine. Quite often they're incredibly sad stories, but it does shine a light and give you perspective, and you learn so much. But also I just love that about books anyway, where you find out about a different country or a different culture that you don't know about, and this does that very much. The ghostly nature I really, really loved. I thought it was done beautifully. It's very haunting, but also gives the book just this otherness that I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, I'm a big, big fan of this. I think it's absolutely fab. I feel like with a bit more time, because I literally only finished it earlier today in bed before work, I feel like this could be a 5-star, so it might well appear in my next sort of 5-star roundup video, but also I'll be talking about it more in my February wrap up. But yeah, if you're looking for something to head to that's a bit different and that will have you gripped, and that you'll become really emotionally invested in the characters, who sometimes, because of their situations, are doing quite uncomfortable, difficult, morally questionable things to each other. But yeah, I think it's just, yeah, brilliant. So really, really recommend that. Sorry, I sneezed again. Now, I should say with the book that I'm currently reading, I am only literally about 10 or so pages in. It's The South by Tash Aw, and this is set over one summer where we follow two young men as they fall in love, and one of them, Jay, has been sent to his grandfather's land and property that he's going to inherit. And that's all I know about this. I've read Tash Aw before and really, really enjoyed his writing. This only recently came out, and I do have a finished hardback. And one of the things that I said that I would, make sure I would try and do this year is if I have a proof and get the finished hardback, I need to get to the proof, because it will make sure that I'm getting to the books that I'm really keen to as they're coming out. And like I said, this has just come out. So yeah, I have no more to say yet other than, so far, the writing is really, really beautiful, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes. It's giving Brat Summer, that cover, isn't it? Let's not lie. Hot pink has been a huge colour in publishing and seems to still be sticking around, but I have seen quite a few of these very vivid greens, I think inspired by Charlie XCX and her Brat Summer, but there we go. Anyway, so yeah, so far enjoying this, but I am only a little way in. So, on to the 5 books that are top of my TBR, and you might see a theme with the books that I have, my reading horizons at the moment, which we'll talk about once I've mentioned these 5. So these are the 5. I have them here. They're all either already out or out imminently, and they're ones that I'm very keen to get to. And so yeah, would like you in the comments below to say which of them you'd like. Now, pre-warning, I am going to be reading some blurbs, which is not something that I tend to do because I don't tend to like it, but in order for you all to vote, I feel like this is the best way to do it. So first up we have Human Animal by Verve Books. No, it's not. Human Animal by Seth, sorry, it's the lemsip talking. Human Animal by Seth Insua, and this is out from Verve Books. I managed to get it a couple of weeks ago in Oxford, but apparently it is coming out in a week. But they must have had some early ones in Gulp Fiction. Anyway, it says, dairy farmer George Calvert is fighting to keep the family business aloft, or even afloat. Let's do that again. Dairy farmer George Calvert is fighting to keep the family business afloat. Worried about the future, but resistant to change, he refuses to face the reality of his failing farm, his elderly mother's declining health, and his troubled relationship with his youngest son. Sorry, that should all be one sentence. He refuses to face the reality of his failing farm, his elderly mother's declining health, and his troubled relationship with his youngest son, Tom. Newly returned from university, Tom isolates himself in his childhood bedroom, guarding the truth of his burgeoning identity. When animal rights activists break into the cowshed one morning and Tom appears to side with the protesters, father and son lock horns as the Calverts begin to unravel a decades-old secret surfaces, one that might rip them apart completely or finally unite them. So yeah, that intrigues me, and I have been wanting more rural books, and I will say that this is set in part in rural China as well as in New York, and this is set in rural India, so that's not the linking theme though, but I have been saying that I really, really want to read more rural books, and so yeah, that's one that would fit that brief. Then we have a proof of Before We Hit the Ground by Selali Fiamanya, and the blurb says, caught between his well-meaning yet misapprehending family, his boisterous friends and his self-assured partner Ben, Elam struggles to fit in. All he ever wants is to feel understood. But what does it mean to live authentically when the only thing changing faster than the world around you is the world within? Moving between Accra, Glasgow and London, Selali Fiamanya's extraordinary debut asks what it means to love and be loved in return. I'm intrigued for this one. The moving between Accra, Glasgow and London really, really intrigues me. So we've got that. Then, and this arrived only this morning, I had a proof, but this is the finished edition, which I think is super duper striking and stunning. I should say what it is. It's Deviants by Santanu Bhattacharya. And this is Vivan, a teenager in India's Silicon Plateau, has discovered love on his smartphone. Intoxicating, boundary-breaking love. His parents know he's gay and their support is something Vivan can count on, but they don't know what exactly their son gets up to in the online world. For his uncle, born 30 years earlier, things were very different. Mambro's life changed forever when he fell for a male classmate at a time and in a country where the persecution of gay people was rife under a colonial era law criminalising homosexuality. And before that was Mambro's uncle Sukumar, a young man hopelessly in love with another young man, but forced by social taboos to keep their relationship a secret at all costs. Sukumar would never live the life he yearned for, but his story would ignite and inspire his nephew and grandnephew after him. So I think this is going to be brilliant. I mean, I think they're all going to be brilliant. That's why they're top of my TBR. But yeah, we have that one. And then penultimately, we have A Language of Limbs by Dylin Hardcastle. This I ordered from Australia. It is coming out in the UK and I believe America later this year. But I've just heard phenomenal things. And it says, the first love of a teenage girl is a powerful thing, particularly when the object of that desire is her best friend, also a girl. It's the kind of power that could implode a family, a friendship, a life. On a quiet summer night in Newcastle, I'm assuming Australia, not the UK, 1972, a choice must be made to act upon these desires or suppress them, to live an openly queer life or to try to desperately not to. Over the following 3 decades, 2 lives almost intersect in pivotal moments, the distance between them at times drawing so thin they nearly collide. Against the backdrop of an era including Australia's first Mardi Gras and the AIDS pandemic, we see these 2 lives ebb and flow with joy and grief and loss and desire until at last they come together in the most beautiful and surprising of ways. It's got a great review from Hannah Kent on the back. So yeah, really keen to get to this one too. Sorry, back again, I had to blow my nose. Right, last but not least, we have Mothers and Sons by Adam Haslett, which again only arrived in the post this very morning. The blurb says, at 40, Peter, an asylum lawyer in New York City, is overworked and isolated. He spends his days immersed in the struggles of immigrants, only to return to an empty apartment and occasional hookups with a man who wants more than Peter can give. But when the asylum case of a young gay man pierces Peter's numbness, the event that he has avoided for 20 years returns to haunt him. Anne, his mother, who runs a women's retreat centre she founded after leaving his father, is wounded by the estrangement from Peter, but cherishes the world that she has built. She long ago banished from her mind the decision that divided her from her son, but as Peter's case plunges him further into the fraught memory of his first love and the night of violence that changed his life forever, he and his mother must confront the secret that tore them apart. So there we are. Those are the 5 books. And what's in common with these and also the book that I'm currently reading and that I have just read is they're all by men. And I don't usually read that many men, although actually, just to say, Dylin Hardcastle, because I don't want to misquote them, Dylin Hardcastle is a trans-masculine person of Welsh and Irish settler migrant descent who is living in Australia. So, yeah, but also the books that have either just come out or are about to come out, and I am going to be, once the Women's Prize longlist box of delights arrived in the coming week or so, going to be reading obviously a lot of women, so I wanted to read some men before then, but also make sure that I'm not missing on some books that are just about to come out. So yeah, I would love for you to vote between these. I'll hold them again. You've got Human Animal by Seth Insua. You have Before We Hit the Ground by Selali Fiamanya, which looks quite like that in the finished copy, but not quite. Then you've got Deviants by Santanu Bhattacharya, and Language of Limbs by Dylin Hardcastle, and Mothers and Sons by Adam Haslett. So in the comments down below, I would love you to vote for one of those. I would also really love for you to tell me your reading horizons. So what have you just read? How did you get on with it? What are you currently reading? How are you getting on with it? And what are you planning on reading? Because it's really tickling your fancy. Like I said, if you haven't picked what to read next and you happen to be passing a local bookshop or your library, Cinema Love by Jiaming Tang is really good. So there we are. Right, I need to go and get the house ready for some guests. Very excited because tonight my best friend of almost 40 years is coming to stay with her 2 children, and we're going to have a lovely long weekend. So really looking forward to that. I will be back on Sunday on the channel with my women's prize predictions. If you're on Patreon, which I'll link down below, along with my Blue Sky, my Instagram, my wishlist and all those things, you will get an advance whittling down of 80 odd books into, well, you'll see. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you're all doing super duper well. As I said, let me know your reading horizons, vote for what book I should read next, and any other chat that you want to have in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going there. Subscribe if you want to. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon. Bye.